Hello, I'm Emma Fox. I'm a tour guide for Manchester. I've been giving tours of Southern Cemetery for nearly 10 years. This is a quick whistle-stop overview of what you can see if you'd like to take the 20-minute walk from Chorlton to this wonderful, huge green lung on our doorstep. It's the largest municipal cemetery in the whole country, the busiest, full of thousands of trees, incredible wildlife, tranquility. So let's have a quick whistle-stop look around. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera the other way now. We're going to walk in. You're going to see what I'm seeing. So we're walking through the main gates on Barlamore Road, opposite Hilton's Memorials. If you go straight ahead, you'll see the chapel straight ahead of you, and you'll see this circular shape. And this is the VIP circle. It has some of the great and good of Manchester on, lots of industrialists. This white one is straight ahead of us. This is the grave of John Alcock of Alcock and Brown. If you live in Chorlton, you probably know that Brown was a local, and he has a plaque at number 6 Oswald Road. So this gorgeous Celtic cross here, one of the men who was half of the duo who first flew uninterrupted across the Atlantic. Look, you can see the lovely propeller there down at the bottom. So we'll have a quick further look round this VIP circle. Here's a map of the cemetery. You can see it's very orderly with its layout. You've got yew, horse chestnut, hawthorn. You've got Nell Lane there, Barlamore Road on this side. There are 4 chapels, only 2 in use, but the avenues were laid out when it first opened in 1879. So the trees are beautifully mature, and the colour of each avenue in each different season is glorious. Take a look at the Beech Avenue in spring and in autumn. It really is so beautiful. Let's have a look at another grave now on this VIP circle. This is the grave and memorial of John Henry Davis. You can see this lovely sculpted pensive woman there sitting on the steps of the grave. Have you heard of John Henry Davis? I doubt it, but I'm sure you will have heard of Manchester United. And without John Henry Davis, we would not have Manchester United. He became connected with the club through a magnificent twist of fate story involving an escaped dog. Right, let's keep walking round this VIP circle. Beautifully kept cemetery by a team of gardeners that work for Manchester City Council across all the cemeteries in Manchester, doing a fantastic job. Let's have a look at one more grave on the VIP circle now. This is the grave of a civil engineer and the driving force behind the building of the Manchester Ship Canal. This is Daniel Adamson's grave. Lived in Didsbury, held the very first meeting to coordinate the plan for the building of the Ship Canal. That was in 1882, and it finally opened in 1894, one of the great feats of Victorian civil engineering. So we'll keep going on this main path for a moment towards the chapel, walking past the plot on the right where you can see a whole variety in shapes and sizes of Victorian memorials on the graves. Going to head through these 2 large memorials to see the very first grave of the cemetery. It's a double plot for a young woman called Eliza Ann Hughes, died at the age of 32. We're at they call it the North Chapel now, but it was originally the C of E Chapel. The plots around it were Church of England plots. And if you were to go to the left along here, you would get to the nonconformist section. And then if we were to go to the right here, that would take you to the Catholic section, the RC section. The chapels are all listed. Let's have a look around here. I'll go and take you to the largest plot in the cemetery. I might just pause us for now. Hear the wind in the trees. Okay, so getting closer here. Yeah, this is, you can just see at the back. Have a look down. You can see used to be railings around it. And we have Enriqueta Augustina Rylands of Manchester, born 1843, died 1908, in loving memory. Ooh, it's very windy. So around the front of it, you'll see her husband's name. This is John Rylands, Manchester's first self-made multimillionaire, lived in Longford Park. He had cotton businesses. Married 3 times, Enriqueta was his 3rd wife, and she built a memorial to him on Deansgate, which is the John Rylands Library, that fabulous library, Gothic masterpiece that's now the Special Collections Library of Manchester University. So we're going to keep going this way, back towards that central circle. I love graves like this, covered in carved flowers, and a lot of them have passion flowers on for Christianity, representing the Passion of Christ, the crucifixion. So this is the nonconformist section. Tony Wilson with this lovely, you can see my reflection there, and that's intentional. He was reflecting the talents of those around him. Tony Wilson, broadcaster, hello, cultural catalyst, and this fabulous quote at the bottom about his work and his influence remaining from the Manchester Man book, written by Mrs. G. Linnaeus Banks, not G. Linnaeus Banks. Thought you'd like to see the horse chestnuts, the conker trees. It's very dangerous here in autumn on a windy day like today, so I better make sure I'm ready for a clonk on the head. We're heading towards Nell Lane now. Got Hawthorne Avenue here on the right hand side and left hand side. Bird song. They have many unusual species of bat in here, lots of nesting birds, woodpeckers, owls. Okay, so we're just coming off the path and we're heading towards that rough cut cross there. And I don't know if you can just read on the front that it says, "In loving remembrance of Robert Stephen McCall Lowry, beloved husband of Elizabeth Lowry, born 1857, died 1932, and also Elizabeth Lowry died 1939. And can you see we've got lots of paintbrushes, and then round the side we have their beloved son Lawrence with a U, Stephen Lowry, born 1887, died 1976. I like to imagine that he designed this rough cut cross for his parents that he lived with until they died. Ooh. And he's Manchester's most well-known artist. We'll just walk round along Lime Avenue. See over there, that's the exit to Nell Lane, and then the extension that they bought land for in the early 20th century. That's over the other side of Nell Lane. Hasn't quite got all the mature trees that we have on this side. That fabulous avenue of lime trees. So So we'll just have a quick little walk along here. Here we are, we're on the edge of Nell Lane, and if you walk or drive along Nell Lane, it looks like this is an empty section, but if you come and have a closer look, you'll see on the ground there are gravestones, and we'll have a closer look at one of them. Let's go and choose one. This one, for example. So here you have names, men, women, young, old, all with different surnames, not related to each other, all different ages. A man there, age 52, Arthur Hindham, age 16 months, Robert Tilsley, 2 years. This is 10 people who died in South Manchester within probably about 6 weeks of each other in 1911, and for whatever reason couldn't afford a burial. So these are publicly funded burials that you'll find all in this area, all along there, and they still have to publicly fund a couple of burials every month here in Manchester. Not far from Nell Lane again, and the public section, we find a man who was one of the very first recipients of the Victoria Cross. It's called John Prettyjohns. You can see it says VC, Victoria Cross, and this was for a battle of Inkerman in the Crimean War. You can see it says RMLI, Royal Marine Light Infantry. He was the first Royal Marine to be awarded with the Victoria Cross. Walking towards this is the Muslim section, and every denomination does have a different feel to it. So have a quick look at how the Muslim community decorates the graves of their loved ones. A lot of yew trees in cemeteries. Yews can live thousands of years, so they're seen as a gateway to the next life. This is the civilian war memorial, because Manchester was fairly heavily targeted in the Second World War with blitz bombing. We had the docks, we had the munitions being built at the Trafford Park, so South Manchester was fairly heavily bombed, and I'm always drawn to this section with the Muirheads. Look at how many names there are. 8 Muirheads all killed in one bomb attack. Here we have the Second World War memorial. There's also a First World War memorial and lots of individual Commonwealth war graves. The names of the people on this curtain wall are buried in this communal area, and I've had a look at some of the names of the people on here and found tragic stories of young men training to be parachutists who've never even seen action and die in practice when their parachutes don't open. Lots of tragic stories like that. So Polish Army soldiers being remembered here as well. And then there are war graves that have been moved from other cemeteries that have been reinterred here. Heading towards the Jewish section now, and you can see it's quite different in the layout, in that the graves mostly lie horizontally. Gravestones mostly lie horizontally, There are some with vertical gravestones as well. And no flowers being left, no little presents. It's just if you've visited, you leave a pebble. I'm just going to have a look at this grave. This is the grave of a journalist who wrote for the Daily Express for decades. Very opinionated. Everybody wanted to know what his opinion was. It sold thousands of newspapers. They might not have liked his opinion, but they wanted to know it. And there was a huge cortege that left from the Daily Express to come to his funeral. And if you look at the date that he died, that might give you a clue as to how he died. He was one of the victims of the Munich air disaster. Oh, the London plains do make the prettiest avenues, I think. See them here just gently blowing in the wind. Walking towards the Roman Catholic section now. This is the grave of, see the name, Caminada. And you can see Jerome Caminada there. Died 1914, aged 70 years. Had an Irish mother, Italian father, lived in the Deansgate slum. Became famous for his methods of detection. So famous, Queen Victoria wanted to meet him. Arthur Conan Doyle read his papers and used them as partial inspiration for Sherlock Holmes. So here he is, Manchester's real life Sherlock Holmes, with this fabulous yew tree in 4 sections behind it. Look at that. Walking through the Catholic section now, you'll see lots of Irish names, Italian names, Polish names. I'm going to have a look at one of the most popular graves, most asked for graves in the cemetery. And this is of a Polish writer. Here she is. You can see Maria Jasnorzewska, poetka, famous for her writing of poetry, prose, plays that pushed the boundaries, that she wrote on very taboo subjects in the interwar period, and came to Manchester with her husband, who was in the Air Force based in the Northwest, and she got cancer while she was living here and sadly died. She wrote some fabulous poems about the Blitz and what the community was like here. One of my favourite graves, just with its really simple carving, and it's of a sculptor, and I like the words written on here. His hands fashioned the beauty he saw. You'll see many of his sculptures around the city centre of Manchester and beyond, even down to Bristol, the one of Colston that was pulled off its plinth. This is a grave of a man who lived in Chorlton. I used to see him around the shops. There's a bench for him in Chorlton Precinct. You might recognise him from the photo there. He's called Harry Goodwin. Died in 2013, and he was a famous photographer. He took photos of all the pop stars that appeared on Top of the Pops. He was John Lennon's favourite photographer, took photos of Muhammad Ali. Men at work digging the very sandy ground for the next person to be buried, and they're going to be buried very close to Sir Matt Busby. This is the very modest grave of Sir Matt and his wife Lady Jean, the famous Manchester United manager. Let's have a quick look at the War Memorial. This is the World War I War Memorial. You've got the cross here with the sword of sacrifice on the side, and then a bit like the other War Memorial, you've got the curtain wall with the names on, and the people on the curtain wall, they're buried in this communal space. You've also got in the distance over there a number of Australian and New Zealand war graves. And if we go around here, we've got some Canadian war graves. You can see a little cluster of them here. Mostly they would have come here from the front with an injury, come to one of the military hospitals and then died of their injuries. That was the usual reason why they're buried here. But you've got the lovely maple leaf on the war graves of the Canadians there. Do come and use this as a green space. They say that it's been incredibly busy in lockdown. People playing rounders in here, people having picnics in here, all sorts. They do want you to come in. It is a green flag awarded quality green space, so do come in. And if you did like the feel of the whistle stop tour, then just Google me Emma Fox and get in touch to ask me about coming on one of the full length tours. It will be lovely to see you. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it.